Welcome back to Bright Ideas from Acuity Brands on IndustrialSage. Today we're taking a look at the residential market. It is one segment that is a bright spot amid the chaos of the COVID pandemic. I am joined by Dennis Noyce, Vice President of Residential Sales. Dennis, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So for starters, how has the COVID pandemic impacted the residential lighting opportunity?
Great question. Over the last year, I think all of us have experienced the nature of what it means to be in our homes more. And that includes working from home and having kids at home, going to school. It's become a classroom and a primary source for entertainment. Not going out as much. So all of that has fueled folks wanting to improve the space that they spend so much time in, and in some cases have recognized that that space is no longer large enough for all the activities that are taking place in the home. But we've actually been predicting that this resi boom was going to be a thing long before COVID. Okay,
tell me a little bit more about that.
So our business intelligence suggested that there was going to be an increase, partly due to the fact that LED, that has transformed our industry in lighting, that started 10 years ago for other verticals and segments, literally just started for residential just a few years ago. So when we saw the fact that there was still an opportunity for LED transition within the resi segment, like the other applications for our lighting, we knew that it would have some revenue boost along with that.
So why do you think that the residential market was the last to, or the slowest to transition to LED?
Predominantly, it's price. So the return on investment for a home in terms of dollar per square foot and lighting, in fact, this segment actually skipped the whole fluorescent chapter that most other segments had. So we're going literally from a source called incandescent that was predominantly the source of choice for many applications 20 years ago to LED. So it's a quantum leap for the technology.
Great. And when you say a quantum leap, can you tell me a little bit about the benefits to the homeowner?
Sure, and they're vast. So for starters, energy efficiency. So on a standard incandescent comparison, a homeowner is going to save 75% the wattage compared to an incandescent lamp. That's a huge amount of savings. There's a lot of rebates and other things that the utilities are doing to fuel that as well. But that wattage also generates a lot of heat. So there's no doubt spaces in a home that have incandescent where if you go to LED, you'll actually recognize the space getting cooler as a result.
Oh, wow.
So longevity of the LED is another huge benefit to the homeowner. LEDs on average for our products last 50,000 hours. And in layman's terms, that means that they'll last 25 times longer than the traditional incandescent.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. And when you think about spaces where you're risking your life at the top of a ladder, that's kind of a big deal. So for most homeowners, they'll never have to replace a lamp ever again. That's a huge benefit.
That's huge.
There's also some characteristics in terms of dimming. We're seeing things like RGB come into play where you can do some really fun things.
That's the colors, the red, green, blue?
Changing colors, correct. And some of the less obvious benefits are the fact that LED likes to be dimmed. So we can create scenes at our whim all throughout our home. And the fact that it's powered and now digital, we can onboard other technologies into the light fixture, AI, intelligence, we can
Yes, we've talked about this
speakers.
A little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So the light fixture can become a really dynamic piece of technology in what we would call a true smart home.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the smart home and incorporating it into, or using lighting as that platform?
Sure. So we had a fixture a couple years ago where we put a speaker in it, and we didn't assume that it was going to be a big deal to this industry, but it took off, and it gave us the hint that people like technology, they just don't like seeing it. And the same thing goes for smart devices that are on countertops. So we actually figured, we joined forces with Amazon and incorporated their AI intelligence Alexa, world's first ever downlight with their product in it. It's hidden, along with JBL. So JBL speaker quality, we incorporated those two products and brands into our light fixture to really change the game on what a product like ours can mean beyond just quality lighting to a smart home.
A couple powerhouses there, three powerhouses all combined into one, really.
Absolutely, and it's something we're super proud of. It took approximately 18 months of engineering in concert with both those brands, but it's something that the world's never seen before, and we're having just huge acceptance and success with it.
So I think this residential market boom amid the pandemic, and then the transition to LED becoming more mainstream for residential, has some great benefits to maybe the electrical distributors as well.
Absolutely. So, recently we've been launching multiple color, temperature, and lumen output products. And so for a distributor, the amount of products that they would need to stock as a capital investment to support residential lighting, the SKU count has gone down tremendously. Some of the products and families that we have, like our wafer family, we've gone from 10 SKUs down to prominently 4, and we sell millions of that product through our distributor friends every year, so that's a big deal to the square footage of capital investment.
So you're talking one product that has multiple color, temperature, or lumen selection options, so they can switch back and forth? Exactly.
So you're going to have a fixture that can, at the homeowner's whim, be different color temperatures switched at the product. It could also be different lumen outputs. So you can have a wider range of that scene selection like we were talking about earlier. You can have it built into the product as opposed to having to buy a completely different product.
Right, and I know as a homeowner, I want to see the same fixture throughout my house, but I may want it brighter in my bathroom than I want it in my living room.
Absolutely, and there might be some areas of your home where you maybe want a wider light, and some areas where you want maybe more of a warm feel and warm light.
Exactly. So benefit to the homeowner, benefit to the distributor. What about the contractors, those installing it in the homes or building new homes, multifamily homes?
For contractors, it's a little bit interesting. So if you look at the size and shape of an incandescent lamp compared to an LED diode, we've managed to change the shape of the fixture and make it much smaller. And for the contractor that has obstructions up in the ceiling, like ductwork and other elements of the home that they've competed with in the past for that space, they've loved the benefit of the fact that the fixtures have become more shallow with the same quality of light, and it doesn't have them running into other parts and pieces of that above ceiling plane. And ultimately, a contractor does not want to have to redo their work. I don't think any of us do, right? And so for a happy homeowner, that has meaning, and the flexibility and all the different color temperatures and range of light output, the contractor be rest assured that the homeowner will be happy with the product they have in their home. Installation-wise, there's a trend now for canless. So in a traditional sense, a contractor would have to install a housing first, and then they trim, and then a lamp. We're incorporating all three of those into one product.
So it's just one install, one thing.
One product. So again, that's part of that SKU story for distributors. It's less time installation and material movement on the job site for a contractor.
Right. So with the transition to LED, we've opened up the possibility for selecting your own color temperatures, your lumens, adding this digital network so you can have AI even in your home. And we've seen a lot of switch to that amid the COVID pandemic for the reasons you stated. People are using their homes for multiple purposes now. It's not just a home. Do you think when the dust settles, will this trend continue? Will there still be this increase in changing into our homes?
Well, as the VP of Sales, I'm counting on it. Actually, we do. We honestly do. There's a lot of evidence by analysts and experts that are suggesting this sort of wake-up call for the country on what it means to work from home and the benefits to both the employer and the employee. There's some stickiness there that we're already seeing within our own company and others, where we're going to assume that there's going to be a lot more folks working from home going forward. Same thing with homeschooling.
Right.
There's going to be kids that may not go back to a public school and stay at home. So for both those reasons, we're making the bold assumption that there's a lot of people that are going to want to continue to improve their home and maybe buy a bigger one like we mentioned earlier.
Right. Well, Dennis, thanks for joining us, enlightening us on all of those trends in the residential market. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Join us next week. We will discuss things to consider when selecting or designing outdoor lighting.